A national tragedy. Those are the words of Austrian Chancellor Christian Stocker after at least 10 people have been confirmed dead in a school shooting in the city of Graz.
Well, in a press conference, Austrian police confirmed that several others had been wounded and that the suspected gunman, a student at the school himself, has since taken his own life.
Well, to tell us more is our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Mark, absolutely shocking scenes coming out of Austria. 10 dead, a school massacre.
Yeah, a horrific event unfolding earlier this morning at this high school in Austria's second city. And the latest word that we're getting now from media in Austria is that the number of injured who are being treated in hospital has risen to 30. Several of those injured are in a critical condition. It took really about an hour and a half, 2 hours for the police attending the scene to be able to get inside that school and to properly clear it from the danger. Among the 10 fatalities, we understand, is the gunman who it's believed turned the gun on himself. Now, in terms of the operation, we've got video, of course, that we've obtained that shows these school children at the school, they range in age from 14 to 18, being taken out of the building, evacuated from that school by officers from the elite Cobra Command. That is the equivalent in this country, in the UK, to our CTSFOs, the counter-terrorism specialist firearms officers who deal with the most serious incidents, including mass casualty attacks like this. Now, of course, at this stage, it's still unclear what the motivation for this attack was. Again, we're only basing it on reports that are coming out in the Austrian media, but suggestions among some of the reports that the perpetrator was someone who was an ex-pupil at this secondary school who may have had a grudge with those at the school for some reason. But that's only one particular sort of line that is out there at the moment. All of the potential options are being explored, of course, by the investigators in this Austrian city. Austria, unlike many other countries in Europe, has not suffered from significant levels of terrorist activity in the past. I was there actually in 2020 when there was a terrorist attack in the capital, Vienna, that was linked to the Islamic State. 4 people were killed by a gunman on that occasion, and 24 others at least were injured in that particular attack. And then, of course, you remember that last year, late last year, there was a plot, an Islamic State-inspired plot to attack a Taylor Swift event at a concert, again in the Vienna, the Austrian capital, that was disrupted and people arrested in connection with that. But it's not, for instance, a country like its neighbour Germany that has seen many attacks linked to the likes of jihadist terrorism in recent months and years. So a lot of soul searching, of course, in Austria as they try to absorb what was a horrific event in the city of Graz.
Thank you very much indeed for bringing us the latest there. We can now go to Vienna and speak to the journalist Mike Leidig. Mike, thank you very much. I mean, absolutely shocking scenes from Austria. People will be asking how this suspect, this young man, managed to get his hands on a gun that can do so much damage.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I mean, the Austrian government does allow people to own firearms, but it's strictly licensed. It has to be locked up. You have to go through a psych test. It's very strictly controlled, but you can also, in theory, get hold of a pistol legally. He apparently had a shotgun, and he also had a second weapon, which was a pistol. I've listened to one video that we obtained here, and you could clearly hear repeated, very fast action shots, implying that maybe it was a machine pistol. It certainly wouldn't have been possible to fire a shotgun and a normal pistol as fast as those bullets were flying. So there's going to certainly be some inquiries on how that weapon ended up there. It is on the border with former Yugoslavia, and I have covered a lot of stories about arms smuggling out of the region. Obviously, from the war in Yugoslavia, there was a lot of leftover weapons in the hands of civilians, and those are actively traded on the black market.
So it could be that this, despite there being a very strict licensing scheme, it could be an illegal weapon that the government of Austria just simply did not know about. I mean, this is really quite shocking in terms of the scale of it, and how this sort of is coming out of the blue in Austria. I mean, have there been any other sort of school shootings in Austria in recent history, or is this something that is a sort of new phenomenon?
Nothing at all comparable with this. There's been isolated incidents involving one or two people, nothing on this scale, and it's completely caught everybody off guard. I mean, the Chancellor, who's on his way down there now, is probably already there by now, has said it's by far the worst crisis of this sort in Austrian history. With regards to where the guns came from, they're obviously going to be looking very closely at that.
Yes, unfortunately, we have seen school gun violence in Germany in particular, also in France, but as you say, not in Austria. I wonder if the gun perhaps had been modified, if you say that it was being fired so quickly that it wouldn't be your standard pistol. I know that people can do that sort of thing. In terms of a motive, though, Mike, do we have any idea this was a disgruntled former student at the school? Is that what we're hearing?
Well, your correspondent gave a very detailed report on that. The same thing is what we're hearing, that it was a former student there. He's 22 years of age. This was a Bundesoberstufenrealgymnasium, and kids there go there from between 14 and 19. He was 22, but if you're not very good at school and you get to the end of the year and you don't pass one of the exams, you're kept back. So it's entirely possible that he was a recent graduate. He wasn't there any longer now, that's for sure. But he could well have left recently, and it ties in with the narrative that he was potentially a disgruntled former student.
Absolutely fascinating. Well, Mike Liedig, thanks indeed for giving us the very latest there, and that new information of just how quick these rounds were fired as well. Terrifying and fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. We'll bring you any updates on that as we're hearing many more people are injured as well, including those in critical conditions. But yes, as it stands, at least 10 people confirmed dead.
We understand 10 people have been killed in an attack at a school in the Austrian city of Graz. The city's mayor says students, at least one adult thought to be a teacher, and the suspected gunman are amongst the dead following the shooting at the Dreyer Schützengasse High School. The country's Chancellor, Christian Stocker, has described the attack as a national tragedy that strikes our country right at its heart.